everyone, this is Colleen Lemma, Starseed Astrologer and Spiritual Messenger, here with my new Empowered Moments video for the week of Monday, October 3rd through Sunday, October 9th, 2022. For this week's weekly Empowered Moments video, we're going to be using the Yin Yang Oracle deck by Stellara for the main message for everyone. We're going to do something just a little bit different for the special message card. Not extremely different, but this week we have a lot of Libra energy going on. We got some Chiron, wounded healer energy, some Pluto, death and rebirth energy, and a full moon in Aries, which is the sign opposite of Libra. So it felt like there was going to be some stuff going on in our relationships and partnerships. So I decided to use one of my relationship decks for the special message card, depending on your stone of choice. And that's going to be the Twin Flame Oracle deck. And that is by Verunda Dave. Now, even if you don't have something going on in relationships, this deck actually has messages that doesn't necessarily have to pertain to relationships. For instance, one of the cards says perception on it. Another one of the cards actually says balance on it. So don't feel like if you don't have something going on in a relationship that you're not going to be able to get anything out of your special message, because I can assure you that you will. It's just that this deck was made with relationships and partnerships in mind. So with that being said, before we look at our stones of choice, there's two things actually. We're going to do an empowered moment here in just a moment. But I also want to make mention that we are now into the first full week of October, my birthday month. Yay! Happy birthday, Libra. So if you haven't already watched the monthly Empowered Moments video for the month of October, you'll want to make sure to tune into that on my YouTube channel to watch the overview of the month, the numerological energy, the transits of significance, messages from our angels and guides, and a special message card for the month based on your stone of choice for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our empowered moment. So as usual, let's get yourself comfortable with your feet flat on the floor if possible, your eyes closed, your body relaxed, but yet you're sitting up straight. And let's take in a couple of regular deep breaths to just ground and center our energy, clearing your mind of all thoughts of the day, the week, the month, maybe even the year. Visualizing in your mind golden white light. This is the golden white light of universe, God's source energy, great spirit, all that is. This golden white light surrounds you with protection and guidance and healing energies. And let's take in a deep breath, breathing in that golden white light, breathing it into every cell of your body. As you exhale, letting go of all that your body, mind, and soul no longer needs. And there is a lot going on this week astrologically, at least a lot of powerful things. And we're going to focus on the full moon in Aries that we have towards the end of this week. And just previous to that full moon in Aries, we have Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, transformation, regeneration, power and control, turning back to direct motion. So it's going to be a powerful full moon, a powerful illuminating light on the area of Aries and the opposite sign of Libra, which brings in self versus others, who we are versus our relationships, our needs versus other people's needs. The balance of those two things coming into play with this full moon. Of course, full moons are about completion, sometimes endings, letting go, and great subconscious healing, especially with Pluto turning back to direct motion. So let's focus our attention on the idea of powerful death and rebirth, transformation and change within ourselves in whatever area of our subconscious patterns and our belief systems, in whatever areas of the situations and circumstances we find ourselves in, and possibly even within our relationships. We ask that the greatest healing take place, whatever is in our highest and best interests for our soul's evolution and growth. We ask for resolution of challenges in our relationships. And we ask for us to step more into our confidence and courage of that Aries full moon. Let's take a deep breath and breathe that in deeply into every cell of your body. Releasing and letting go and thanking our angels and guides for whatever transformations are going to take place for us this week. When you're ready and in your own time, you can open your eyes, returning to this time, this place. And let's go ahead and take a look at our stones of choice. And these 3 stones are all root chakra stones. And I chose them in honor of Pluto going back to direct motion. Of course, Pluto rules the underworld and the shadow side of our subconscious. So the first stone here is onyx. This one has a beautiful pattern on it. I found it in a metaphysical store. I believe it was somewhere. It might have been in North Carolina when I took a trip up there. Or it could have been in one of the stores here in South Carolina. I can't quite remember, but I just thought it was a gorgeous onyx with that kind of, obviously it's not natural because it's got this crisscrossy looking pattern on it. But the onyx itself, it gives us protection and strength and stamina. And we've been through quite a year, especially quite the last, couple of months, it feels like, at least to me. So knowing that this stone gives us stamina, I think is going to be good for a lot of people. This stone, onyx, gives us self-confidence. It helps to banish grief and other lower vibrational energies, emotions, but banishes grief. And it stimulates our wise decision-making capabilities. Again, we might be needing that as we're, if you're going to watch the October monthly video, it's going to be quite a powerful month. And we are headed for another set of eclipses, the end of October and the beginning of November. So those eclipses always bring in changes. And so we might be needing to make some wise decisions, which this stone will help you with. The second stone of choice, this one's rainbow obsidian. Now, it might be kind of difficult. Oh, I guess you can see a little bit of that rainbow, but obsidian is normally a black stone. You can see when I kind of tilt it in the light that we've got some reflective kind of rainbow colors here, blue, and I think I saw a little bit of pink there earlier. Maybe some greenish there. But the rainbow obsidian is great for illumination, helps to remove blockages and stagnation in the emotional body. This one helps to heal a broken heart, okay? And then the last stone of choice is orthocyrus. Orthocyrus. So this is actually an ancient fossil from long ago. And this activates and opens and heals the root chakra. Now, as I said, all of these stones relate to the root chakra, which is our center of grounding and security and stability within ourselves. But this activates, opens, and heals the root chakra. This helps with transformation and new beginnings at times of deep personal growth. So we could probably use all three of these right now, right? So again, our stones of choice are the onyx, the rainbow obsidian. I'm just trying to get some of that reflective light there. I want that pink to come back. I know I saw it. And the last stone of choice is the orthoceras fossil. Okay, so let's put those stones aside here and let's talk about the astrology for the week. Now, I said there's a lot going on. There's not a lot of transits day to day going on, but what is going on is quite powerful. So we actually skip all the way to Thursday to start. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the moon is moving through its regular cycle of moving through the zodiac, but there wasn't any major planetary activity. So it brings us to Thursday, the 6th of October. We have Mercury, planet of the mental realm, the planet that rules our mind, our thoughts, our perceptions, and our ability to think or communicate. It's still in Virgo from its retrograde cycle, not too much longer though, but it's still in Virgo on Thursday, the 6th. And it's going to be in a positive trine aspect to Pluto. Now, Pluto, as I mentioned, in a couple of days here from Thursday, is slowing. It's actually slowed down already, but it's going to be turning back to direct motion. So Pluto is already what we call stationed when Mercury is connecting with it on Thursday. Stationed means it's pretty much at a standstill and not moving, which intensifies and magnifies the energy of what that planet is all about. And this planet, Pluto, is powerful. It is about power and control, and it can be about domination and manipulation. It can be about shadow work. It can be about volcanic sorts of energy, situations, or activity. It can be about transformation, regeneration, death and rebirth, transmutation. So rising above and transmuting lower energies and moving into a higher state. So again, this Mercury trine Pluto is made much more powerful because Pluto is at that standstill. Okay, so we're going to dig down deep in the shadow of the psyche and within our mind because Mercury rules that mental realm. Now, the next day on Friday, the 7th of October, we've got the sun in Libra, which of course it's Libra season. And the sun in Libra, the partnership relationship sign of Libra, that's all about balance, harmony, and equality. It's opposing Chiron. And we know Chiron as the wounded healer, the shaman, the teacher. Chiron brings up old past life wounds and challenges, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Sometimes with Chiron, we have kind of this fragmentation from other lifetimes, like where our soul might kind of split off because of trauma energy. Chiron, of course, is in Aries right now. It's been in Aries for a while. It's going to be in there for a long while. So it's not moving quickly through Aries, but it is retrograde right now. So with Chiron retrograde, it's internalizing these wound energies of the self, because that's what Aries rules. It's internalizing these wounds regarding our sense of self-identity, confidence, courage, independence, because those are all Aries keywords. With the sun opposing that, it brings in relationship matters. So now we're not just dealing with Chiron retrograde as far as our own kind of internal wounds, but now it's playing out in relationships. When we have an opposition, it's being reflected and played out with the other. And since the sun is in the partnership relationship sign of Libra, we're kind of being mirrors to one another right now. We're reflecting our wounds to one another right now, which isn't always the greatest unless we're consciously awake and aware of this actually taking place and this going on and taking responsibility for our own stuff. So that leads us up to the next day, Saturday, which is the 8th of October, which is when Pluto officially turns to direct motion at 26 degrees of Capricorn. Now, I want to say that Pluto is so slow moving. It only moves 1 to 2 degrees in a whole year, okay? So it moves very slowly. So Pluto slowing down to what we call its station point before turning back to direct motion on the 8th of October. We've been feeling this for the last at least couple of weeks. So we're going back into the end of September that we started to feel on some energetic sense Pluto slowing down, transformation, regeneration, death and rebirth, delving into the deep realms of our subconscious and our psyche and looking at our shadow side qualities and much, much more, right? Transmuting old dense energies, kind of like peeling off the layers of an onion. So Pluto helps to transmute and peel away these layers and then transmute them to a higher vibration so we can rise from the ashes, born anew like the phoenix. Okay, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio in astrology, the modern ruler of Scorpio anyway. And Scorpio is at the highest level, that phoenix energy, where we're rising above and transmuting something. Then we get to the next day, Sunday the 9th, the last day of this week, and this is where our full moon at 16 degrees of Aries is. So we've got Pluto at a station point right before the full moon. We've got the full moon at 16 degrees of Aries connecting with Chiron, the wounded healer. I believe it's at 14 degrees of Aries, almost 15, so it's pretty close. It's opposing Venus in Libra, which is the planet of love and relationships, money, finances, values, and our sense of self-worth. And of course, the sun is opposite the moon in Aries, which makes the full moon anyway. So this is heavily bringing up things in our relationships, right? And things about the relationship we have with ourselves and the relationships that we have with the universe as well. So it's all about that balance of the Aries Libra energy, self versus partner, self versus the other. And that Libra energy wants peace, balance, harmony, equality, diplomacy, compromise, but Aries wants self, confidence, courage, leadership, take charge, and focus on me, focus on what I need. So we need to find that fine balance. Of course, the full moon, it's a time of completion, releasing, letting go, endings, right? As we build up to the full moon, that energy on the emotional realm, because the moon is about our emotions, is growing and expanding, okay? So our emotions are triggered more easily. And right after the moon, of course, it'll take a couple of days, obviously, to come off of its peak energy, but it starts to wane. This is when we start to release and let go. There's something coming to a head with the full moon, and then there's a release, a surrender, a completion of some sort going on. So I mentioned that it's opposing Venus, bringing in relationship matters. It's connecting with Chiron, bringing up old wounds from this and previous lifetimes, where we're hurt or where we're feeling not, fragmented in some way, challenged in some way. And the last planet that this full moon connects with is Saturn. And Saturn is the great teacher of lessons and known in astrology as the Lord of Karma. So karmic lessons are ruled by Saturn. Patience and timing and delays is sometimes ruled by, well, not sometimes, it is ruled by Saturn. And this connection to Saturn is called a sextile. That's typically a positive connection, but we are talking about Saturn here. So whatever's going on, have patience. There might be some sort of delays. There might be a feeling of restriction or limitation. There's some sort of lesson to learn. Saturn's trying to teach us something. We're maybe releasing or shedding some old karma with that sextile. That sextile means there's an opportunity here for a great healing or clearing to take place with that full moon energy, especially with Pluto going direct. As long as we're kind of open to a deep inner awareness of our own shadow side and subconscious patterns and are willing to, take a look at them and bring some healing to them. So that's what's going on astrologically. Let's take a look at the messages from our angels and guides from that unusual deck. It's not a tarot deck, but it's an oracle deck, and it's a pretty large oracle deck. I can't remember how many cards there is, but there might even be there might be 78 cards. And if not, there might even be more than 78 cards, because you can see it's a very thick deck here. So there's lots to choose from. But I already did my meditation. Cards, I really thought, which deck should I use here for this powerful week with the full moon and Pluto going direct? And I thought that's the perfect deck, and cards just started flying out when I was shuffling. So we've got a total of 5 cards, 2 and then 1 and then 2 at the end. So the first of the 2 cards is Transcendence and Unity. Isn't that an interesting card here? It almost reminds me of Gemini, the sign of the twins, right? There's 2 women that are kind of doing a handstand here with their backs to one another, and they're exactly in the same position, back to back. So it reminds me of that Gemini, the twins. Now, beyond that, it's like a duplicate reflection here. This is like, as I said, Libra brings in partnerships and relationships where we're projecting maybe our wounds onto one another. So this is like that reflection here going on. But as you notice, these women have their backs to one another. So it could be like meaning that we're not really totally aware of our reflection or projections that's happening, which goes with the full moon, because when we have a full moon, we're kind of operating out of the emotional body and just getting emotionally triggered, and our emotions have kind of a life of their own sometimes. So it's almost like, we're not facing the person metaphorically. We have our back to them, and we can't really see what we're projecting. It's just kind of coming out. And that person, we project something negative, and they're reflecting back to us almost like this same mirror image of what we're projecting. But now the card itself, and also I noticed that there's kind of like some storm clouds in the background there. There's a little peeking hint of some blue sky, or like the clouds are parting in just a couple of little areas. So know that we might be in the midst of a storm here with the full moon week coming up, but there's always opportunity for clearing. There's always opportunity for clarity. There's opportunity for awareness to come in. Now the card says transcendence and unity. So, what's the goal within relationships? We want to have balance. We want to have equality. We want to have unity. We want to be in union with our partner. We want to transcend any challenges or negativities or imbalances, karmic wounds. We want to transcend them and bring healing to the relationship. So again, I feel like there's great opportunity to do that, but we have to have awareness and take responsibility of our own human nature, of our own wounds, and our own part that we play in the projections in all of our relationships. This isn't just about a romantic relationship, but it can be family, friends, even business and career. We have to be aware and take responsibility for our part in things, right? It doesn't mean we have to say that we're taking all the blame. There's really no blame to be put on anywhere, right? But we can kind of say, even though that's not necessarily how I meant to say that or reflect that, I can see where the other person might have taken that the wrong way. So that's kind of taking responsibility. You can kind of see that maybe there was a tone inflection, that you didn't initially feel that you had, but when you go back and reflect upon it, you can see that, okay, well, I can see maybe I was a little bit frustrated when I said that, and even though I thought I said it, out of a place of balance, the other person's wounds got set off because of that, and I can take responsibility to some extent, and hopefully they take responsibility for their knee-jerk reaction and whatnot. So I think it's just all about wanting to transcend and rise above and heal these wounds, and that's possible because again, we want to come into a place of peace, balance, and unity and equality here. These two women are kind of equal and reflecting an equal energy to one another, but we don't want to reflect the negative, the storm clouds, the difficulties. We want to transcend those wounds and rise above. Now let's see what came out with this card, because there was a card with it. Okay, I feel like I don't even have to explain this. It says reflection and projections, and there's a mirror here. Isn't that interesting? So we've got this mirror image of these two individuals, and then we have an actual mirror, and we talked about projection. We talked about reflecting. And sometimes too, you know, a lot of times we're so empathic with other people's emotions and feelings that it's difficult to like separate ourselves from their emotional energy, and we end up reflecting it back even though we might not need to. Like, let's say we feel like we're grounded and settled and, you know, pretty good for the most part, and the friend, the partner, the family member, the boss or whatever comes in and starts, you know, reflecting some sort of negative energy, projecting some negative energy at you. Well, as they're projecting that, you end up reflecting it back somehow in your tone, in your words, in your actions, and then it blows out of proportion and gets bigger. So that's what we don't want to happen, right? So, you know, one thing that might be said is we need to like look in the mirror, like almost step outside of ourselves and see our own reflection of how we just acted or reacted in any particular situation. We need to see our own reflection with thought, word, action, and energy as to how something within relationship matters might get blown out of proportion. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next card that came out by itself. Okay, well, we've got rejection, loss, and fragmented. Well, we did talk about fragmentation. That's a Chiron keyword. So all of these words on this card and the image of the woman sitting in the middle of the woods, you know, looking kind of abandoned or lost or in despair or depressed, rejected. You know, fragmented is that word, with the sun opposing Chiron on Friday. And Chiron, as I said, is retrograde. So it's internalizing these energies and bringing up these Chiron wounds within ourselves, although it's being reflected in our relationships, but they're really our wounds. So think back to childhood, think back to if you know of any of your past lives and what those were all about. If you don't, maybe an intuitive or psychic reading or doing a past life regression or some sort of hypnosis or shamanic journey, maybe that will help to bring up for you some clarity on what some of your wounds are. You could probably guess just based on situations and whatnot that you keep repeating or patterns of energy that you keep on operating from. You can probably guess what some of those wounds are, but maybe not have a clear picture of where they came from. So doing some of these other healing techniques may bring in this clarity as to where did these fragmented feelings or energies, the fragmented parts of my soul that may have split off because of this life or past life trauma, you know, and the rejection, the anger, the frustration, the sadness, the grief, the depression, the anxiety, the feelings of loss, confusion. Where did they all come from? So that's definitely coming in strongly this week. And then let's look at the last card came out as 2. Oh gosh, you can't make this stuff up, can you? Pluto. Now this deck that I'm using, I don't believe, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't have all the planets in it. I'm trying to think. It may have a couple of them, but I can't recall all of the planets that we use in astrology being in this deck. But Pluto sure is. And isn't it interesting that Pluto's going direct? So, wow. I mean, this big, thick deck and Pluto came out. Transformation, death and rebirth, regeneration, big changes. You know, she's kind of lit up, but she's also in the shadow. You know, there's some shadow energy here, you know, in what she's wearing and up here around her and even across her face a little bit. There's some shadow energy. But the good news is that there's also an illumination happening. right? Her skin is illuminated. You can see light sort of reflecting off of parts of her. So Pluto goes into the depths, it goes into the underworld, into the depths of the shadow side of our psyche, and allows for this intense death and rebirth and transformation and change to take place. Now, with that being said, some of the keywords of Pluto might apply this week as it's turning back to direct motion. Power and control, manipulation, explosive energy. I always think of Pluto like a volcano where something's building and building and building, and then the full moon's going to come and it's going to like explode out if you haven't like released it previous, if you haven't allowed it an outlet previous. It's just going to build up until it comes out. Now, the opportunity to rise like the phoenix with that Plutonian energy is definitely there, if you allow it. Don't get caught into the lower level of Scorpio, which is the Scorpion, where we just become resentful or vindictive or, whatever it might be. There's some, some of those shadow sides of Scorpio on that lower level of the Scorpion. We could at least take the middle road, which is the eagle, but then we have that highest road, that's the phoenix, where we're rising above and transmuting all of these lower energies and patterns and difficult emotions and patterns within our relationships. Now, one thing to remember is that we can transform or transmute our own patterns, but it's up to the other person in the relationship to do their own work, their own healing work. So you can heal yourself, and that helps to heal the relationship, but you can't do all the healing by yourself of the relationship. The other person has to participate too. Let's look at the card that came out with this. Okay, so this says change, and it says courage. Now, this has a woman with 2 suitcases walking away. So that could be metaphoric for leaving a situation behind, leaving a circumstance, or possibly even a relationship behind, bringing about changes, having courage to move forward and into a new area, a new energy, a new path. Now, it doesn't have to be that drastic, okay? It could mean that, but the less drastic way to look at this is that Pluto is just helping us to transform our own psyche and rise above our own subconscious patterns, and that through looking at ourselves deeply, we're having that confidence and courage to bring changes within ourselves. So the walking away could be metaphoric of us walking away of an old belief system, an old pattern, an old way of thinking, an old way of operating within our situations and circumstances. Okay? But again, there could be, as full moons, can bring endings, and releasing and whatnot, letting go of something. There could be a walking away of a job, a career, a family situation. This could even mean family departing, there's been a lot of transition energies lately where family members, loved ones, friends, or pets are transitioning to the other realm, to the other side. So that could mean this too, where we're moving forward on that soul journey. But it could mean too leaving a situation, a circumstance, or a relationship behind. If not, we're talking about energetically releasing and letting go of old patterns, and not that we're leaving a part of us behind, but we're leaving the dense energy behind. We're making the change and we're moving forward. We're transforming, transmuting, and then regenerating ourselves with the Plutonian energy. So that's a very powerful reading. Let's take a look at the special message depending on your stone of choice. So that first stone of choice was the onyx. So I'm just shuffling our twin flame oracle deck here. So for the onyx people, special message for onyx people. This one's calling my attention as I open my eyes. Okay, it says separation. Okay, again, doesn't necessarily mean literal, but it could be metaphoric. Let's see what it says at the bottom. So it says, no contact. I don't know why it says 5D, but it says no contact, 5D, dreams, nightmares, and focus on your own happiness. So again, this could be a literal kind of separation to where you're going it alone, or at least having a short-term separation to gain clarity in yourself or to find healing in yourself, to kind of have a time out to do reflection and soul searching, which is healthy every once in a while. And especially with the sun opposing Chiron, the wounded healer, the full moon connecting with Chiron, the wounded healer. I can see where this, again, whether it's short-term or long-term, could be taking place. But also, again, remember this could be metaphoric, that there's a separation from old patterns, a separation from old belief systems that we've been holding, a separation from old layers of energy that we no longer need. We're peeling away those layers of the onion and discarding them because it's not who we are anymore. Separating ourselves from, what do I want to say? Separating ourselves from old issues that we've been carrying around for a while, old wounds, separating from those old wounds. So there's a lot of ways to look at this, okay? And it's going to just be a matter of time to find out how this card might actually play out. But one thing is for sure, I feel like you need some alone time, some downtime, some self-reflection time, some self-care time, and some healing time for yourself. You might want to get out next to some water or the ocean or a lake or a stream, as she's by the ocean here. And, you know, water rules the emotional realm, and especially when you immerse yourself in the water, and you can even do this in a healing bath, right? You immerse yourself in the water, it's like a cleanse. It's a cleansing of the emotions, with intention, of course. So, okay, I'm going to put that card back in the deck. This deck, by the way, also is a very thick deck. So the second stone of choice is the rainbow obsidian. Give this a little shuffle off camera here first. Rainbow obsidian. Special message for rainbow obsidian. By the way, they're making sure to say that the separation isn't necessarily just about patterns and relationships, but it could be separating from a job or career that you've had, separating, you know, so I forgot to say that, I think. All right, there's other circumstances that you could be separating from. Rainbow obsidian. Rainbow obsidian, special message. Rainbow obsidian. Okay, this one on my forefinger on the bottom is calling my attention. Oh, I love this card. It reminds me of Libra, which we're in Libra season, but this says balance. Got the little yin yang symbol in the middle, and at the bottom it says yin and yang. What do you know about that? Darkness and light. Stay centered in your higher self, which is always the best thing to do, right? When we're dealing with whether it's any kind of relationship challenge that we're working through, or even something within ourselves that we're dealing with, some sort of challenge, you know, a subconscious pattern or something, it's always best to stay centered and balanced in your higher self. It's going to allow you more clarity. It's going to allow you more intuitive insight. It's going to allow you to hear, feel, or see or understand the messages from your angels and guides and from spirit, from the universe. And they're saying too that if there's decisions that need to be made, we're still in the shadow of Mercury retrograde. Even though Mercury is in direct motion, we might want to wait another, I think it's until the 12th of October for Mercury to move out of its shadow. So they were using the phrase like walking the middle road or walking the middle path. right now. So we're staying balanced. And when it comes to, again, making choices or decisions, you might want to wait a little bit and walk that middle path, kind of stays centered and grounded, not leaning fully to one side or the other, or committing to one thing or another quite yet. Stay balanced and just let some of these energies sort themselves out. Let Mercury pass its shadow point, which is October 12th. And it doesn't mean to become unbalanced after that, but I feel like, weighing the pros and cons and doing some research before then and just seeing how things unfold in the meantime, staying balanced in the meantime and walking that middle path is going to be the best thing to do before making, especially because of the full moon, right? The full moon can be this knee-jerk emotional reaction, which maybe isn't the best thing to do. If you can kind of stay balanced through that emotional energy of the full moon and wait for a few days, this would be waiting another, what would that be? Another 4 days or so for Mercury to be out of its shadow. Then I think we'll be better able to make the best choices and decisions for ourselves if that is part of what needs to happen. Or you'll feel more balanced just within yourself after that. All right, one more card. That's for the Ortho-Cirrus people. Special message for Ortho-Cirrus. Special message for Ortho-Cirrus. Okay, this one on my finger down here again is calling my attention. Now this one's different. It says material world. And it says money, career, status, third dimension, and make your mark. So third dimension means, dealing with the everyday details of life, like family, home, money, finance, work, career, that kind of thing. So this one seems to be all about that material 3D world. So you might not have relationship stuff going on at all, or if it is, it's maybe in the career with coworkers or boss or business partners or something like that. And you're supposed to be focused on, I'm going to say, owning your power with Pluto turning back to direct motion, right? There may be some sort of power and control issue with, again, someone in the workplace, or there may be just your own challenge of owning your power or feeling empowered in your situation. But this is saying you can do it. You can make your mark. You can create that abundance and prosperity. You can have that recognition and success. You can make the change in your career. Make that choice, make a stand. You can make the money that you desire. So we see this nice little, it looks like a coconut and the plant growing here, right? So we're sprouting something new, and coconut to me is like the manna of life, So I feel like this is going to be like you're moving into a really good time, I'd say. I feel like this is a really good energy for you. And with the full moon in Aries, and Aries is the sign of the self, the sign of confidence, courage, and self-identity and independence, this is like, go for it. Take charge, and make it happen for yourself. Take some action and make it happen, okay? All right, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this weekly Empowered Moments video. Don't forget to check out the monthly Empowered Moments video. Thank you so much for all your love, support, and comments, and I will see you again next week. Love and light, everyone. Namaste.